Tonight, remembering Jimmy Carter, the longest living president, dies at the age of 100.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear.
A tumultuous single term followed by decades of diplomacy and charitable work, defined by service and grace.
They were always thinking about ways that they could help other people.
We return to his beloved hometown in Georgia for a look at Jimmy Carter's remarkable life and legacy. A devastating plane crash in South Korea. Nearly everyone on board, 179 people killed. Did bird strikes contribute to the crash? A terrifying landing at the Halifax airport.
Everybody was trembling. There were a couple people screaming, crying.
Shaken up, but okay. Now, passengers want to know what caused their plane to suddenly skid along the runway.
From CBC News, this is The National with Paul Hunter.
Thanks for joining us. Ian is away. Jimmy Carter, former U.S. president, Nobel Peace Prize winner, and humanitarian, has died at the age of 100. Flags at the White House and the U.S. Capitol lowered at half-mast tonight. New York's Empire State Building lit up in red, white, and blue for a champion of U.S. democracy. His rise to the White House, for some, showing both the promise of the presidency and its limits. Carter, later known for his decades of promoting peace and human rights. Mourners laid flowers at the organization he and his wife Rosalind founded, the Carter Center. It said he died this afternoon, peacefully, surrounded by family. As Lindsay Duncombe explains, there was no one quite like Jimmy Carter, someone who stood out in Washington even when he first arrived, nearly 50 years ago.
In Jimmy Carter, the United States elected an outsider, plain-spoken, humble, religious.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear.
The promise of his presidency a contrast to the scandal of the Nixon White House.
Let us create together a new national spirit of unity and trust.
Carter grew up on a peanut farm in rural Georgia. He served in the Navy before returning home to expand the family business. A Southern Democrat, as governor, he promoted civil rights and education. Carter aimed to achieve a competent and compassionate government, but his achievements were often overshadowed by a world in turmoil and a suffering economy. Carter embraced the role of peacemaker and focused his attention on the Middle East. The deal between Israel and Egypt, known as the Camp David Accords, solidified Carter's reputation as a statesman. It led to a Nobel Peace Prize. But it was the conflict with Iran that many say defined his presidency. In 1979, Islamic extremists overthrew the American-backed Shah. Iranian students took over the U.S. Embassy. 52 Americans were held hostage for more than a year. Carter ordered a high-risk rescue. It failed. 8 American servicemen were killed in a helicopter crash. The conflict with Iran led to a gas shortage, long lines and panic at the pump when Americans could least afford it. Inflation soared while wages stagnated.
It is a crisis of confidence.
In what's known as his malaise speech in 1979, Carter urged Americans to reduce consumption. He criticized self-indulgence and consumerism. It didn't go over well, especially in contrast to the telegenic Hollywood optimism of the man campaigning for Carter's job. Ronald Reagan would defeat Carter in 1980. Unpopular and just 56, Carter at first struggled with the adjustment to post-presidential life, but in the decades that followed, his public service would outshine his presidency. In 1982, he opened the Carter Center, devoted to peace and human rights. He and his wife Rosalind helped build homes all over the world through Habitat for Humanity. He authored dozens of books, including a fly fishing guide and a novel. His 2006 book, which compared Israeli actions in Gaza and the West Bank with South African apartheid, drew sharp criticism from fellow Democrats. He spoke to CBC about the controversy.
The word apartheid is provocative, but I don't look on the word provocative as negative.
In 2015, a devastating diagnosis. Carter had metastatic melanoma spread to his brain. A new drug regime put him in remission, and Carter continued to work into his 90s. At 98, he entered hospice care, and shortly after, mourned his wife, Rosalind. They were married for 77 years, partners in a legacy of service, traveling, building, preaching, living up to the title of his autobiography, A Good Life. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Washington.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau among the many world leaders paying tribute to Carter tonight. Posting an image of Carter with his father, who was prime minister at the time of his presidency, Trudeau wrote that Carter's legacy is one of compassion, kindness, empathy, and hard work, that he was always thoughtful and generous with his advice, and adding, may his selfless service continue to inspire us all for years to come. Katie Nicholson has some of the reactions to Carter's death as leaders, historians, and friends take stock of an extraordinary man with a complex legacy.
Jimmy Carter may have lived here for 4 years, but to really know the 39th president, you had to go to Plains, Georgia, where he was born and raised. And eventually retired with his wife, First Lady Rosalind Carter.
To assess the other churches.
Still teaching Sunday school into his 90s. A president, yes, but peanut farmer first.
He was very humble. He was very uninterested in the trappings of Washington, D.C. He was very uninterested in, participating, I think, in some of the rituals. And while that might endear him to us now, that made it harder for him to, I think, work in the D.C. process at the time.
One more.
His presidential legacy likely to be overshadowed by his humanitarian works after those 4 years. Former presidents, one after another, nodded to the enormous good Carter did once he left the Oval Office. Bill Clinton, who presented Carter with the Medal of Freedom, noted how he lived to serve others until the very end. While the Obamas extolled upon Carter's decency, echoed by the current president.
Decency. 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 Everybody deserves a shot. Everybody.
Incoming President Trump, who days ago criticized Carter's decision to cede control of the Panama Canal to Panama, acknowledged the challenges Jimmy faced as president came at a pivotal time for our country, and he did everything in his power to improve the lives of all Americans. For that, we all owe him a debt of gratitude. Arthur Milne, who hosted the Carters at his Kingston home,
Now, I don't believe that Mr. Ford would purposely kill 50 million people.
once served the former president wine made by the Canadian comedian who lampooned him on SNL.
And he looked at me and he said, Dan Aykroyd? I said, yes, Mr. President. And he said, from Saturday Night Live? I said, yes, Mr. President. And then President Carter held his glass up and he said, I've earned this one.
But Milne will remember his friend for more than his sense of humor.
He always challenged you. He always challenged you to see your better angels and see the better angels of others.
And Paul, there continues to be an outpouring from American and world leaders tonight because this president had major impacts around the world, working to eradicate guinea worm in developing nations. Cases down by 99% since the Carters made that a mission back in the 80s.
And Katie, I take it the plans for Carter's memorial service are already taking shape?
Yeah, so first there's going to be a motorcade to the Carter Center in Atlanta where he's going to lie and repose for about 36 hours. Carter will then be flown here to Washington where he will lie in state at the Capitol. And of course, there will be a state funeral at Washington National Cathedral before he is taken back home to Plains where he will be laid to rest in the family plot.
Thank you, Katie. This is CBC's Katie Nicholson in Washington. And we'll take you back to Carter's hometown of Plains, Georgia, a little later in the hour.
They've really set Plains up to be okay without them.
They have. Now, we're on our own, and we'll figure it out.
Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault will show you how a small town shaped a president and, maybe more crucially, shaped his life afterward. That's in about 20 minutes. Turning to other news now, an investigation is underway in South Korea after a fiery plane crash killed 179 people. Word tonight that the pilot issued a mayday call after a bird strike. Ithel Musa begins with the horrifying scene on the runway.
The airliner skidded off the runway on its belly, completely out of control, headed for a concrete wall and a fiery explosion. 179 people are dead. The only survivors, 2 cabin crew pulled from the burning wreckage. Family members wept at the airport as officials announced the names of victims, some identified only by their fingerprints. She was almost home, says this grief-stricken father. His daughter was returning from a holiday trip to Thailand with friends. After a public apology, the airline CEO promised to investigate the cause. Jeju Air will make every effort to resolve the situation quickly, he said. The plane was a Boeing 737-800, flown by airlines around the world, including in Canada. There were no maintenance issues flagged, but officials say the landing gear did not deploy properly.
Mayday, Mayday, Mayday 세 번 선언했고요.
They also say a pilot told air traffic control the plane had suffered a bird strike before issuing a mayday call and crashing into a concrete barrier. One expert wonders why it was there in the first place.
I would say that absolutely contravenes international standards to have that wall there. No question about it. It should never have a wall anywhere near the runway. Nowhere near it.
The crash, one of South Korea's worst aviation disasters, comes amid a political crisis, including the impeachment of 2 presidents. There are many government organizations that are vacant at the moment, says this man. This leads to uncertainty about whether the government can effectively perform its duties and respond to the accident.
Boeing has released a statement saying it's in contact with Jeju Air and it's offering support.
And so what's next on this file, Ethel?
Well, senior transport officials in South Korea say that the flight's data and cockpit voice recorders have been retrieved from the plane's black box. That information will now be examined by senior government officials who've been tasked with overseeing the investigation. And, Paul, we can confirm tonight that no Canadians were aboard that flight. Global Affairs Canada confirmed that tonight.
All right, Ithel Musa, thank you.
You're welcome.
And a harrowing scene on a Halifax runway last night, thankfully with a much better outcome. While landing, an Air Canada flight skidded down the runway and caught fire. No one was seriously injured, but as Jennifer Yoon explains, it was a frightening experience for all on board.
A heart-stopping moment caught on video by a passenger as his plane landed Saturday night at Halifax International Airport.
The plane started vibrating like horribly. Not like anything normal when you land. It was, there's something wrong here.
It skidded down the runway as flames were visible on one of the wings. Smoke was filling the cabin as everybody on board, 73 passengers and 4 crew members, were evacuated from the flight safely. Nobody was seriously hurt. Passengers say it still feels surreal.
Kind of in shock, kind of in disbelief, but the next day you realize how serious it was and it could have been, so.
One of Halifax Airport's runways remained closed Sunday as the Transportation Safety Board of Canada deployed a team of investigators to the scene.
Any inbound flights were diverted to other nearby airports, and also there were some delays and canceled flights as a result of the timing of when this took place.
Air Canada says it suspects a landing gear issue may be behind the incident. Some aviation experts agree and say the crew performed admirably under difficult circumstances.
The professionalism of the crew in evacuating the aircraft and getting everybody off the airplane quickly, that is just an example of how well these guys are trained.
Graddock is hoping to reassure Canadians flying is a safe mode of travel despite the spate of plane crashes these past few days. For passengers in Halifax, a sense of relief looms large.
Everybody's just very, very lucky that under the circumstances everything happened, that there was nothing worse, especially with the Korea flight that just happened. If you saw the video from that, oh my God. This was pretty similar.
The Transportation Safety Board is expected to give an update in the coming days. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Montreal.
The president of Azerbaijan is blaming Russia for the Christmas Day plane crash that killed 38 people. He acknowledges the plane may have been shot down accidentally, but as Yasmin Renea explains, He's accusing Moscow of trying to cover it up.
Sorrow in Azerbaijan's capital as 2 pilots and a flight attendant killed in the Azerbaijan Airlines crash were laid to rest Sunday. They were honored for how they landed the airliner, allowing 29 people to survive the fiery crash. A crash that Azerbaijan's president now says was Russia's fault. We can say with complete clarity that the plane was shot down by Russia, he told Azerbaijani state television Sunday. We are not saying that it was done intentionally, but it was done. The Christmas Day crash killed 38 people and injured 29 others. The flight was en route from Azerbaijan's capital to Grozny in southern Russia. But it diverted to Kazakhstan, where it burst into flames. The Azerbaijani president alleging the plane was hit by fire from the ground in Russia, accusing its northern neighbor of covering it up. On Saturday, Russian President Vladimir Putin offered a rare apology to Azerbaijan's president over the fact that the crash happened in Russian airspace.
It is out of character. The reason, though, it seems to be is that a lot of people survived the crash. It's much harder to bury the evidence.
But Putin stopped short of admitting Moscow was to blame. The Azerbaijani president says the apology fulfills one of his demands, but he still wants Russia to take full responsibility and to punish the guilty.
It's not clear that he will get everything that he's asking for, but of course, it puts Russia in an uncomfortable diplomatic situation.
As the 2 countries remain at odds, the families of the victims continue to grieve. Yasmin Ghanea, CBC News, Vancouver.
Liberal MPs in Atlantic Canada have gone public with their plea that Justin Trudeau step down as party leader. One of them has posted the letter they sent Trudeau 6 days ago, citing Donald Trump's threat of tariffs and the opposition's resolve to bring down the government. Simply put, they wrote, "Time is of the essence." Several sources have told CBC News Trudeau's Ontario caucus reached the same conclusion days earlier. Well, there is hope tonight that several species of frogs nearly driven to extinction could make a remarkable comeback.
They are thriving now in the presence of this pathogen that a generation or 2 generations of frogs previously wiped them out.
What scientists have learned about how some survived a devastating infectious disease. Next. Plus, the world is mourning the loss of former U.S. President Jimmy Carter. He's being remembered tonight, not just for the political, but also the deeply personal.
After 77 years of marriage, that love, I think, was even stronger than day one.
Adrian takes us to Carter's hometown, where his incredible story began and where it ended. We're back in 2. They're picking up the pieces and assessing the damage after a severe storm system blew across the southern U.S. over the weekend. The storms spawned as many as 40 tornadoes from Texas to North Carolina, killing at least 4 people. The storm line has now moved eastward and out into the Atlantic Ocean. Well, how about this? Several species of frogs that were nearly wiped out by a deadly fungus are making a comeback. It started when researchers tracked down some survivors. And as Anand Ram shows, what they've discovered is driving hope for the future.
The millions who visit Yosemite National Park every year may not notice it. Over the falls, the serenity of the woods, but there's a sound missing.
And to me, the lake feels really empty. It's missing something. And that's, of course, because I know what used to be there.
These guys, mountain yellow-legged frogs, and old notebooks from the 1900s talk about seeing hundreds of them along lakes and streams. But along came chytrid, a deadly fungal disease that almost wiped them out. Almost.
Let's go, little guy. You're on your own.
But a team of researchers focused on those survivors, finding them to be newly resistant to the fungus. Eventually testing that tolerance by reintroducing them to high up in the Sierra Nevada mountains. After years of study, they found the frogs not just surviving,
they are thriving now in the presence of this pathogen that a generation or 2 generations of frogs previously wiped them out.
a success story considering rigorous study is lacking. Experts estimate chytrid has killed off 90 species and put hundreds of others into decline.
This is a rare study, right? It took a long period of time, so 15, 20 years. So that means a lot of interventions, a lot of collaboration.
And experts say more money is needed to find out exactly what makes these frogs resistant and if this solution can work with other species. For now, it's a sign of hope.
You put the frogs back, you see the bears come back, you see the garter snakes come back, the coyotes come back. It's a pretty remarkable transition, but it takes a long time to see it happen.
Time to bring back a vital ecosystem engineer to one of the most beautiful parks in the world. Anand Ram, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, reaction is pouring in tonight to the death of former U.S. President Jimmy Carter.
We're always thinking about ways that they could help other people.
When we come back, Adrian will take us to Plains, Georgia, where Carter will be mourned not just as a president, but a neighbor. At the White House tonight, the U.S. flag flown half-mast and will remain lowered there and at all federal buildings for the next 30 days to mark the death of former President Jimmy Carter. Carter died at his Georgia home. He was 100. As plans get underway for the funeral of the 39th President of the United States, there is a minuscule stretch of the U.S. that's just lost a neighbor and lifelong champion, a man who will be buried exactly where he lived. Adrian Arsenault has been to Plains, Georgia before, knows it well, and knows just how much in that place Jimmy Carter mattered.
Okay, so Plains, if you blink, you're gonna miss it. 600 people, 7 churches.
The thing about Plains, Georgia, is even if you arrived not realizing who the favorite son is, 30 seconds in, you'd know.
Right over there by the train tracks, that was the campaign headquarters. Everything Jimmy Carter, everything.
This is where Jimmy Carter was born, raised, spent most of his life, and died at the remarkable age of 100.
Mr. President, on behalf of the entire Biden family and the American people, happy 100th birthday.
Happy birthday.
To my fellow President Jimmy Carter, happy 100th birthday.
Have a happy birthday, friend.
When the former president announced in 2015 that cancer had spread to his brain, locals dotted lawns with campaign-style placards. Jimmy Carter for Cancer Survivor. The lawns and windows are different now. Thank you, they read. What exactly are they grateful for? Why is that gratitude likely to linger? Well, come meet someone.
At the intersection of Rosalind Carter Trail and Jimmy Carter Industrial Parkway, if you turn left here, this is how you get to the home of a very dear friend of theirs.
The Carters.
This is Jill Stuckey. And this is Jill Stuckey. And this is Jill Stuckey, a friend of the Carters for decades, who in the last months was almost a daily visitor, bringing food and love.
We're always thinking about ways that they could help other people. And, you know, they've always been there for me.
Jill was also the one to carry out a special request made a while back when Carter first realized he was sick.
They were going to have to.
She was to find the 25 neediest homes in the Plains area.
He called me up to his house one day and said, I want to eradicate substandard housing in Plains. We're going to be here, so this is now going to be our focus. So he said, I want you to find the houses, and I'll do everything else.
So once you identified the houses, and he said, I wanted to help, what did that look like?
So he made calls to a friend in Michigan, so they sent all the HVAC systems. Another friend of his knew somebody who did roofing projects, so they came in and put on 17 brand new roofs. Things move pretty fast.
They modeled a way of living for Jill and others here that is more than their commitment to the community. It was also their commitment to each other.
I would get to be at the Carter's house the last year or so, and Rosalind would usually get up a little bit later than President Carter, and she would come out, and President Carter would be sitting in his recliner, and she would navigate her walker over and bend down and give him a passionate kiss. After 77 years of marriage, that love, I think, was even stronger than day one. It's just amazing.
You're gonna hang on to that?
Always.
It's like the hand holding, eh?
Oh yeah, and then she would sit down on the sofa beside him, and he would reach his hand out, and she would put hers on top, and they would sit there and watch TV and talk. So this is where Jimmy and Rosalind attended grades 1 through 11 because...
Maybe you're looking at Jill and wondering, why the uniform? Well, this too is about the Carters.
And here's a typical classroom.
She's the superintendent of the Jimmy Carter National Historical Park.
And you notice there's no lights in here because there wasn't electricity.
Offering a glimpse here at the little plain school both the former president and First Lady Rosalind went to from their earliest days. They've really set planes up to be okay without them.
They have. Now, we're on our own and we'll figure it out.
They will. We'll continue telling the stories of a simple place that bore witness to history and has managed to always be a draw. So this is the church where Jimmy Carter taught Sunday school long after his presidency.
Forgiveness, compassion, the alleviation of suffering.
This was 2015. We came to watch a phenomenon.
Each of us has a responsibility to...
Maranatha Baptist regular congregation was about 35 people, but just look at all those packed pews. There were people from all over the world who'd come just to hear the former president, and just maybe to witness a moment. Maybe a moment like this one.
I think I got the wrong one. I'm sure Romans 6:23. Ma'am? Rosalind? Rosalind? Rosalind, let me teach the lesson. I know it's on the back. I was going to tell them that later on. That's Ephesians 2:8 and 9. And I'm not being short with my wife, but I was going to get to that point later on. I was going to point out to you.
Do you remember, I mean, is this a kind of a classic moment between the two of them?
100%. So look, I mean, they shared jokes, they fussed at each other, they, you know, and she was, of course, right, I'm sure, when she was trying to correct him, and he, of course, was bristled a little bit at being corrected, just like every relationship that you've ever seen. So this is the executive offices of the Carter Center.
Can you see it in his eyes or hear it in his voice? This is Jason Carter, Jimmy Carter's grandson.
That's me as a baby and the rest of our family, but not a baby, but a toddler.
He's had a front row seat to so much.
This is the duties of the President of the United States of America.
So is that like a manual?
It's what this is, actually. This is all of the different statutes that require the President to do something. He was President of the United States for a little while, and he was Jimmy Carter, you know, the human, the grandfather, the head of the Carter Center, the farmer, for a lot longer.
And it's now Jason who's the chair of the Carter Center in Atlanta, picking up on the global democracy and charitable work his grandfather initiated, and learning, always learning, how many layers there were to Jimmy Carter. Did you know, for example, that as a young man he helped save Canada from nuclear disaster? The world's first nuclear accident in Chalk River, Ontario. It was 1952.
He was in the U.S. Navy and was part of the very first nuclear engineering group that was working with nuclear reactors.
When the accident happened, there weren't that many experts around the world, but Carter was one of them and was dispatched immediately.
My grandfather was a part of a very small team that secretly showed up and were entering this reactor and participating in this very detailed, very high stress process. He and his team, mapped out the inside of the reactor, outside, practiced precisely what they were going to do. I mean, it sounds like it's from a Tom Cruise movie. And then once they got it right, they would run into the significant radiation exposure, perform their 1 minute worth of functions, and then run back out.
It worked, and the family joke has sometimes been maybe Jimmy Carter was bitten by a radioactive spider, just like Spider-Man. Maybe that explains his long life and drive.
You gonna be okay without him?
There's so many ways that the Carter Center and the family and so many others have prepared for the end of his life. And I thought I was prepared, but the regular human grief has been surprisingly hard for me.
That regular human grief, that Plains understands. Some things here won't change. It remains, as they say here, a place so flat, water doesn't know which way to run. And it will remain a place infused with the Carter way. He's made sure of that. Decided some time ago that he would be buried under a willow tree with his beloved Rosalind at his Plains home. Not at his library, like most presidents, not in Washington. He knows it might mean more people come to see this tiny rural town. One last gift from the man who made Plains to the place that made him.
As Adrian mentioned, there are many layers to former President Carter, and the dozens of books he authored about his life, career, and experiences will add another chapter to his enduring legacy. We'll be back after the break. Stay with us. Well, demand in Canada is spiking for candy from Sweden, so much so that it's creating an unexpected boom for some small businesses. Jenna Benjatrit now with what may have caused the sudden craving for the very specific type of treat.
Running an online Swedish candy store was already a sweet gig for Jessica Borschever. Then her sales unexpectedly went through the roof.
I went to sleep that night, woke up to like 70 orders, which was not normal for me at all. And then each day, it was just getting higher and higher and higher.
Every Friday night around. She credits a viral social media trend for the spike in orders. In January, this American TikTok influencer posted a video of her weekly ritual, buying an eclectic mix of Swedish candies from New York's Bon Bon candy store.
Listen, I got a plethora of different gummies.
$15.
That video led to an onslaught of others. The Scandinavian sweets are known for their odd shapes and flavors, and for being, well, kind of healthy, with no GMOs, no trans fats, or other harmful additives usually found in candy. But the sudden spike in demand led to a global shortage of the candies, sending Canadian importers like Borschever scrambling.
The biggest supplier that tipped everything over the edge, they're called Bubs, and anyone wanted to get their hands on it, they themselves completely ran out.
We were too low on stock just before summer. And then during summer, you need to close down the factory for maintenance, and people need to have vacations.
Demand was so high that Bubs was forced to stop taking new international customers. Swedes have a notorious sweet tooth and a long-standing tradition called Saturday candy.
There is a history of eating candy basically only on Saturdays. We have had long relationships with our customers in Sweden and the rest of the Nordics, and we need to prioritize them currently.
These are the foamy textures.
Even with Bubs on the back burner, Borschever says there's no sign of a slowdown as the trend spreads worldwide. She's scaled up her business.
The demand is too high, I can't do it all on my own.
Being a professional kid in a candy store sounds like a pretty sweet deal. Jenna Benjatrit, CBC News, Toronto.
Now let's dig into another retail trend, one that's having a powerful impact on tween girls. More and more of them are fixating on skincare products. Earlier this year, Anya Zolojowski investigated how they're getting hooked and what it might be doing to them.
20 young girls at this 8-year-old's birthday party. Look closely. This isn't a jungle gym or an arcade. It's a Sephora.
How do we feel so far? We feel good?
They're all getting skincare and makeup done. Abby Brass organized the event for her daughter, London.
It was the only party that literally no one said no to. I've never had 100% RSVP positive on an invitation, but everyone wanted to come to Sephora.
Skincare has become a major craze for young girls, and by young, I mean not even teenagers yet. Every time I've stepped into a Sephora recently, I've seen some inside, and I'm not the only one noticing this.
I do see it sometimes because of the whole concept of beauty and how things online can make you insecure. It does worry me a bit.
Yeah. I have a younger sister and she's definitely starting to get into more makeup stuff.
I know a lot of girls are getting into retinol and stuff. Yeah. And you don't need that for young skin.
No. I mean, if they want to splurge their money here, let them, yeah.
London definitely does.
So I saw this at Sephora and I really wanted it for my birthday.
What would you normally put in with it?
Like a bronzer, but I don't have it anymore because we traded. So
you and your sister traded?
We trade skincare a lot.
Can you show me some of the TikTok videos that you follow?
That's London's sister, 10-year-old Harper.
Well, this was one too. It's if she has that skincare product. Another one.
Another one, yeah.
Another one.
Another one.
Ready with me for the Dolphins versus Chiefs game?
These are get ready with me videos. They're fun, casual, influencers at home showing off their favorite products. And look closely. Often, the content is sponsored.
Get unready with me using Glow Recipe's new Clear Skin Essentials.
And the products pushed aren't cheap. This kit costs more than $100. Still, Harper and her friends have even started to make their own videos. They don't post them publicly. They just share them with each other.
You pump, and then you would add it in, and then mix it.
The skincare, as long as I'm monitoring it and making sure it's safe for them, it's not harming anyone.
And when your daughters are consuming all of this content on social media, what are some of the negatives that you've noticed?
You never know what's going to be out there, and I've often walked in and seen things that I don't find appropriate, and I make them turn it off, and I explain to them why they're not appropriate.
I drunk elephant, and I thought to myself, wait a second, a few weeks ago, my niece, about 9 by the way, showed me how she got this new lotion.
Turns out Sephora kids, or kids flocking to cosmetic stores, really are a thing. Millions of TikTok videos turning the trend into a meme with the Sephora Kid hashtag.
The rough housing, which it's going to happen.
William Yap is a makeup artist in Edmonton who worked at Sephora until recently. He experienced the trend firsthand.
Running around and spraying each other. It's not a playground.
The influence of social media is so intense that kids are asking for specific products that they don't always know much about, and they aren't always open to hearing that.
I clearly and nicely explained that this product that they're looking for does not actually in any way address the concerns that the child has. She stomps her foot, she looks at me, the child, and she goes, "You effing suck." And then she turned to her mom. This is a 10-year-old child. She looks to her mom and she goes, "You also effing suck." And then she just turned around and stormed out of the store. It was wild.
Yap says many kids are well behaved, but still, staff and adult customers have complained about the mess some kids leave behind.
Every generation is defined by its own trends and fads. For me, it was back-combed hair, side bangs, aviator sunglasses, and Fat Farm shoes. The difference, experts say, is that today, social media is exposing girls to advertising basically non-stop, and they don't even realize they're looking at ads.
I think that's really tricky, right? This is becoming a really blurred gray zone.
Natalie Coulter is a professor at York University specializing in tweens and the internet. She says social media follows teens everywhere.
I mean, I think on one hand, there's this feeling that girls can always be improved, that there's always some sort of regime, some sort of thing that should improve you, which is really a story about you never being good enough in the first place.
All that influencing is working. Check out these numbers. Global analytics firm Circana measured Canada's beauty industry's sales revenue during the first 9 months of 2023. They found an 18% increase from the same period in 2022. Circana also said Generation Alpha, kids born in 2010 and later, will drive the boom for years to come. But there are concerns that some products can cause harm. Julia Carroll is a dermatologist in Toronto. She has noticed an uptick in clients bringing in their girls with questions about products they saw on social media.
Younger skin, like tween skin and some teen skin, the skin barrier is not fully mature. So it's definitely more susceptible to being irritated or damaged by those products.
Carol says that the way products are packaged can attract kids to them.
Think fun colors and names that may appeal to school-aged kids, like Easy A. Carol even carries some in her practice.
We liked a line that was focused on ingredients. It has fun names and fun colors.
But adds that she knows these are safe for kids and has some tips for parents.
So what you want to do is sort of get the basics. So you want a cleanser, you want a moisturizer, you want a sunscreen. Get that established.
Some brands, though, have been accused of intentionally designing their products so they'll appeal to kids, even if they're not actually for them. Drunk Elephant, a trending skincare line that attracts kids, responded on Instagram by clarifying which products are child-friendly. But Natalie Coulter stresses that there is an upside.
Girls have very few spaces to talk about themselves. They have very few spaces where they're celebrated. I think about a girl in their bedroom during COVID, there's not a lot of places to go, not a lot of things to do, and they're kind of playing with makeup and they're expressing themselves.
And for Brass, she has seen a positive impact on her girls.
As much as we think it's crazy to be standing talking to your phone and doing a pretend skincare application on your social media account, really, my older daughter is quite introverted, and you see this extrovert come out when she's doing this, and it actually really does build her confidence.
And just weeks after Anya first brought you that story, a California bill aimed to ban the sale of anti-aging skin products to kids under 13. The concern was that some ingredients are too strong for kids, but the bill failed to move forward for lack of support. Coming up, a moose leaves the wild and makes a trip to the grocery store.
In the name of Jesus, look at the moose at the Costco.
How a mother had to negotiate with the animal to save her grocery cart in our moment. Well, this holiday season, The National is bringing you a countdown of the most popular moments from the last year. We're calling it the 12 Days of the Moment. We couldn't count down our favorite moments of the year without at least one moose. Regular viewers know we here at The National love a good moose moment, so when a moose spent the day at a Costco in Alaska, you know that it made our list, and that's tonight's moment.
Hey, bud. Scooch, I'll give you the sweet potatoes.
Yeah, it was a standard shopping trip until a moose decided that maybe he wanted my sweet potatoes more than I did.
Just scooch.
I offered to give him the sweet potatoes. I was like, just take it. I bought extra. But no, he was denied fresh produce. And then it was just a standoff while I sat there and waited for him to either steal my food or walk away. Once he started putting his ears back.
Just no ears back, buddy. I'm not, just scooch.
Yeah, I'm gonna put down my cell phone.
In the name of Jesus, look at the moose at the Costco.
He did go elsewhere eventually, but apparently he just kind of stuck around and lingered at the Costco parking lot until 4 or 5 o'clock that day. That's a moosey. 15, 20 people sent pictures of myself, and it was just to be with my hand on my hip, leaning forward with finger out, straight up mom lecturing a wild animal that has its face in the back of my car. It just happened. It's a typical Saturday until it wasn't.
Scooch.
Scooch. Here's my moose moment. 2007, 2008, driving in the wilds of Quebec, just east of Gatineau. Middle of the night, boom, moose comes right out in front, right? Just missed him. I looked at him, he looked at me, I looked at him, he looked at me, kept moving. Moral of the story, they're big, man. Don't ever hit one, because it's gonna win. From all of us here at The National, thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to The National's YouTube channel. I'm Paul Hunter. Take care.